Hey, what's up, guys? Have another knife I want to review for you. I showed this to you a couple months ago. I've been using it ever since, on and off. It is the Ronin Gear Balisong trainer, and it is a very cheap or affordable training model for Balisong. Now, first, let me explain training model if you guys don't already know. Basically, it's just an unsharpened version of a butterfly knife. It's basically safe to train with. These are sold, for the most part, at martial arts type stores that sell all kind of fake swords and knives, stuff like that. But you could find these in the oddest places, to be honest. But this one's pretty popular. That's why I got it originally, because there's a lot of requests to see it. And there's the logo there, Ronin Gear. It just says Ronin Gear, California, USA, and then there's a sun in the background, and there's rays of light coming off the sun. Now, something I found kind of odd or interesting is that I looked up this company, and I found this website, and they sold paintball stuff, gear for paintballing and as well as airsoft. And I thought, well, where's the connection there? Why is this company does paintball stuff and airsoft stuff make a fake Balisong knife? And I really don't know. At first I thought maybe it was just another company with the same name. That happens quite often. If you guys are familiar with Microtech knives, fantastic tactical knives, one of the best manufacturers of automatic knives that I've always used. But there's also other companies called Microtech, spelled the same way, that deal with computer chips. So at first that's what I thought. I thought, alright, well, it's just another company that just happens to have the same name. But you know what? This site had the exact same logo, so I have to assume it's literally the same company. And like I said, they're located out in California. Balisongs are popular in California. A lot of people don't realize that they're legal to own in California. I get that question quite a bit. Yes, they're totally legal to own. There's no size restrictions, anything like that. However, that's in your own home, on your own property. If you decide you want to take a Balisong or automatic knife out on you, in public, that is also legal. It's okay to have an automatic knife and or a Balisong in public in California, with one exception, and it's a big exception. The blade can't be longer than 2 inches. So, I mean, I got a ruler here. 2 inches seems a little ridiculous, but you would have to cut the top here off. I mean, if this was a live, a sharpened knife. Now, is there an exception for training knives? I have no idea. You're going to have to check your local laws for that. But basically, that's how long your blade's going to be. Now your handles, obviously you're not going to have a short blade like this and full handles on, a standard Balisong. You might get a mini Balisong that looks something like this, short handles and short blade. But if you want to carry it, it's got to be 2 inches or less. Balisongs and or automatic knives. So California isn't too bad on the laws, considering most states don't allow automatics or Balisongs at all. At least they give you 2 inches, so it's not too bad. But anyway, while I have the ruler out, let me give you some dimensions here. While open, this trainer, I'll try to get this in film for you, or in screen rather. Full length on this is 8.5 inches, well, a little bit more, maybe 8.75 inches long. Closed, it is, let's see here, looks to be exactly 5 inches. So almost 5 inches on the button. So there's some dimensions on it. Obviously, again, being a trainer blade, there's no sharp edges at all. It's actually rounded on the front here, so you can't stab yourself either. Now keep in mind, even though this is a trainer blade, it's not completely safe in that it's still a piece of metal. You can, if you're flipping this around, you can poke yourself in the eye. If you stab someone really hard, kidding around, you could probably bruise them. I don't know if it would actually, break the skin open or not, but just some common sense stuff. Just because it's a trainer doesn't mean you should be, reckless with it. Speaking more to my younger viewers for that, I mean, obviously flipping around in the house, you can still break stuff. So, you still want to be careful. The one downside I see to flipping a trainer is that you get sloppy with it. And what I mean by that is if you're seriously into the hobby of flipping Balisongs and learning different techniques and manipulation techniques, when you have a trainer knife, you tend to not be as focused. In other words, you can be flipping around, and all of a sudden you change handles, and you do one of those, and flip back. And you don't realize that was the blade side. And if it was a live blade, you would have cut yourself. So obviously when you're flipping with a sharp blade, you're a little bit more focused, and when you make mistakes, you know about it right away, obviously, because you get cut. And then for the most part, you don't make the same mistake twice. So there's definitely something to be said about flipping a live blade. Some people say it's wimpy, to flip a non-sharp blade. I don't think that's the case at all. There's plenty of people who are interested in the hobby, but they just don't want to get cut. And I can't blame you for that. There's a lot of people who have multiple interests and multiple hobbies. If you play the guitar and you also like balisongs, which a lot of guys do. A lot of guys who flip do happen to play the guitar as well. And you know what? You can't really afford to get a bunch of nasty cuts in your hand because then you can't play your guitar. So a trainer is a good option for a lot of people. Again, for my younger viewers, if you're anywhere from, 10 years old to 15, and your parents are just against the whole idea of using a balisong, this may be a very good compromise between you. Of course, they're just looking out for your best interest. They don't want you to get hurt. That's a good parent. It's good that they're like that. But like I said, this might be a good compromise. They know that you're not going to get cut. You're not going to stab yourself. At the same time, you can still play around and learn moves. And then when you're old enough to get a sharp one, or if they feel you're responsible at some point, you can just transfer over to a live one, and you already have the same moves down. So it's a very good training tool, and that's the whole purpose of the trainer, obviously, is to train. So this one here says cannot be sharpened on the blade. That's more of a legal thing. I mean, if you wanted to, you can sharpen the spine up on this. But to be honest, this is no more expensive than or it's not any cheaper than a cheap, sharp version. So to take the time to grind that down and actually sharpen it, you're better off just buying one that's sharp for the same price. These are very cheap. These are only $10. And I've seen these anywhere from $10 was the cheapest, or excuse me, $8.99 was the cheapest I saw this online. And the most expensive, I think, was $16 or $17. But for the most part, they're between, 10 and $12. So everyone can afford these. They do have pin construction, so they tend to stay together longer. I've been flipping this for a couple months now, and although it's loose, which is something that's going to happen with all cheap balisongs, it's very loose. There's a lot of blade play. I'll show you that real quick. Let me lock it. You see it's locked open, up and down, left and right. I mean, I can do circles with this. You can even hear it. So obviously very loose. The problem with having a loose balisong is that as you're flipping it, it does get sloppy, and by wiggling around a lot, it makes some moves harder to do. So that is one downside, but all cheap ones, they're going to be like that. They're all going to get loose on you with use. But having the pins there, for some reason the pins or rivets, they stay in longer than the cheap screws. The cheap screws, they fall out. When you go to tighten them back down, they strip. It's a very soft metal. The screws are never tempered. They're just super cheap. So the pins, I definitely say, and always recommend, if you have to go cheap, try to find a model with rivets or pins in them as opposed to screws. Now, if you get the screw ones, screw versions of these cheap balisongs, you could Loctite them in, but like I said, when you initially try to screw them down, it could strip the screws. So just be careful of that. But anyway, this is a one-piece cast construction. Okay, so it's just one solid piece here. The weak point on these knives are definitely the handles. What happens is, first off, you're using a cheap material for handles, and then when you drill holes in here, which obviously they're for decoration, but their main purpose really is just to lighten up the handles, take some weight out. But what people don't realize when they're manufacturing these is that, alright, well, this is an open handle construction. Okay, so basically the only thing connecting this side of the handle to this side of the handle is this back piece. Okay, it's like a U shape. Okay, if I hold it like this, you can, well, I'll show you on the other side. You can see it's literally just a U. So now when you drill holes, instead of having, whatever this is, an eighth of an inch diameter holding this together, now you take away some of that metal. So the only thing holding it together is the little bits on either side of the hole. And actually on this side, it's not holding. So it's only this one little piece right here on each hole that's holding that handle together. So when you create a lot of weak points by doing that. And as you're flipping around, if you drop this on the ground, that can snap off. And I've had that happen to me in the past with cheap balisongs, where they had pins and the blade never fell off, but the handles just literally broke off. And usually it happens up top here. So that's something to consider. I don't think this is a very, what's the word I want? It's not a very consistent product. That's the word. Consistent. What I mean by that is that this exact same knife, this Ronin gear trainer, I've had a good experience with. I've had this for a couple months. I use it a lot. I drop it a lot. I've been abusing it. I dropped it not only in a rock driveway, but outside in the grass, as well as inside. Dropped it on wood flooring. So it took a lot of abuse, and it has not yet failed on me. However, that being said, I've talked to people who've had these that only lasted a couple days. So I don't think it's a consistent product. I think that some are better than others, and it's just a crapshoot. It's potluck. You know, are you going to get a good one or not? I have no idea. I would suggest if you can afford it, you know, instead of buying one for $10, just spend the $20 and get two of them. This way, when one breaks, you have a backup, and you're used to how it feels. You know. As far as how it feels, actually, let me grab my jeweler's loop here because I want to show you the texturing on this. It's not really grippy. It looks as if it would be really textured and have a good grip on it. You see the pattern in there? If I can get it to focus. There we go. That pattern it gives you something. It's not completely smooth, but it's not going to grip your hand or anything. I actually think it's a pretty decent grip for flipping. It's not. You don't want something that's really slick that's going to slide out of your hands when you're sweaty. But you also don't want something that's so grippy that it's going to catch and hold on your fingers as you're trying to manipulate it. So there's definitely a compromise there. One positive thing about this as well is that it's completely rounded. I mean, all the edges here are beveled, so it's not very square. Some cheap knives have very squared off corners, which makes some moves just basically uncomfortable. I don't know if I can get this on there, but the edges are rounded. So it's comfortable to do, you know, something like rolling around, where it's literally just rolling around your hands. It's not going to irritate your hands. So that's a nice bonus. Another big bonus, huge bonus, is check this out. That latch. It actually locks open still and locks closed. That's almost unheard of. Any cheap Balisong I've ever had, the very first thing that goes is this latch. After about a week of flipping, and look, you guys know it. A lot of you guys watching this have these cheap Balisongs. I mean, post down in the comments. The first thing that happens to you is this latch gets floppy. It doesn't want to lock anymore. It gets loose. So that's one huge bonus, is I've noticed that this actually stays tight with use. So that's pretty cool. Something that happened to me on accident is as I was flipping this latch went inside here. There's no latch gate or anything preventing this latch from going inside the channel. And what happened was it was kind of resting there, and the handle, as I was flipping it, the handle came down and it smacked it inside the handle. Okay, and it got stuck. Now, first I was thinking, crap. You know, how am I going to get that out? But then I was thinking, you know what? Some guys break off their latches. They don't like it. So this is a pretty cool little feature. I mean, it's obviously an accidental feature. They didn't design it like this, but the handles are just so that when you push that latch down, there's enough pressure to keep it there where it's not going to fall out, so you can flip without having the latch in your way. I know some guys, they find that latch to be a little bit annoying when they're flipping. So that problem's solved, and you don't have to actually break it off. If you want to use it, what I do is, you can see there's a little bit of space on the front and bottom, or top and bottom of that latch. So I take a little flathead screwdriver and put it underneath and pop it back up. So I can flip it without the latch making any noise, you know, or getting in my way, and then when I want to, I pop it back out and I lock it. And it stays locked. So again, it's an accidental feature. It's not something that the makers did on purpose, but it's a pretty cool little feature. So as far as weight, it feels very close to the Benchmade Model 42, which I use as pretty much a reference. I don't think it's the best Balisong ever. A lot of people confuse me praising the 42 as being the best Balisong ever. I think that it's still one of the best production-made Balisongs. I've dealt with probably 4 or 5 different custom-made Balisongs that definitely were superior to it. However, the price is going to be a lot more. They started at $400 and they went up to $600, and you know, some customs can get even more expensive than that. But for a production knife and for the price, which was $180 for a very long time, it was even cheaper when I got into the hobby. Believe it or not, you know, only a couple years ago when I first got into Balisongs, expensive Balisongs, I should say, you can get a Benchmade Model 42 used for $100 on the forums. It was nothing, and everyone had them. Nowadays, obviously, they're getting harder and harder to find. So that was one issue that I didn't have when I was, luckily, when I first got in the hobby, is that there were 42s everywhere and they were more affordable. But anyway, $10 for these things. You can't, everyone can afford $10. So definitely a cool little Balisong, but I was talking about the weight. The weight of this feels very close to the 42. How it actually feels in the hand as far as ergonomics and stuff, I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous since all Balisongs are pretty much straight. But what I mean by ergonomics is just basically the overall feel. The handles are not as thick, you know, and you don't have the same exact styling as a 42, so it obviously feels different in your hand. But the weight overall is very similar. Now, I believe offhand, the Benchmade Model 42 weighs 4.1 ounces. So let me weigh this for you guys, and we'll see. I didn't weigh this yet, but I'm guessing it's going to be close. All right, let me make sure I'm on ounces here. All right. By the way, don't mind the dog making noise in the background. My cat's messing with him. All right. Let's see. All right, back to 0. So this is weighing in at 4.39 ounces. Let's do that again. Make sure I get a consistent weight here. All right, 4.38. Switching over to 4.39. So I'll just call it 4.3. So 4.3 ounces is only what is that? One fourth of an ounce more than the Benchmade Model 42. So it does feel very similar. If you have a 42, or if you're looking to get a 42, this is not a bad trainer to have, because it does have a similar weight. A lot of times when you go cheap, you have a problem because either it's way too light or it's way too heavy. A lot of the cheap models are aluminum frame with a thin stainless steel blade, and they're just very, very light. And on the flip side, you have ones like the Jaguar Classic that I've talked about before that have, a cast handle, and they're just super, super heavy. If you have to go really light or really heavy, I would prefer really heavy. It helps with some moves, and it's easier to manipulate. A light knife, for some reason, you can't get any momentum with it. But anyway, as far as flipping is concerned, I think this is a very good trainer for flipping. So for $10, I really think it's worth it. You can't really go wrong, even if the thing breaks on you in a couple weeks. I think what's really good about this is if you've never flipped a Balisong before, it's a good place to start. Again, it's only a $10 investment, first of all. Also, it's safe because it is a trainer model. And then when the thing finally does break, you can say to yourself, all right, well, I invested $10 and I found out that I love the hobby. I really want to keep flipping, and I want to invest in a good Balisong that's going to last me years, if not my whole life. So, for $10, you figure that out. Or, on the other hand, maybe you say, all right, well, I've been flipping this thing for a couple of weeks now, and you know what? It's kind of boring. It's not for me. So it's a good thing I did not invest that $200 into a expensive Balisong. So it's a good way to just start and see if you're going to like the hobby. So anyway, the Ronin gear, California-made Balisong trainer. I like it. I think it's a good bargain. For $10, it is what it is. You can't expect everything from it, but I think you're definitely getting a deal with this one. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to comment below. If you have an important question, send me a message. I'll try to get back to you. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Take care.